Hi guys, welcome. This is Lisa from astrologysphere.com. In this video I'm going to be doing eclipse forecasts for the upcoming eclipse season, which begins on the 26th of December and extends to the 21st of June 2020. So what I'm going to do is look at the main energies surrounding eclipse season, and then I'm going to break these down sign by sign for each of the 12 zodiac signs. This is something new I've introduced to my website for members, so it's probably something I'm going to be sending out with my moon phase newsletters, which normally go out twice a month. So if you're interested in receiving these on a regular basis, then please do subscribe. All you have to do is go to astrologysphere.com/subscribe and sign up. It's absolutely free, and it would be fabulous to have you on this journey with me as we go into 2020. So without further ado, let's get into this forecast. So before we get into the individual forecasts, I'm just going to give an overall summary of the main energies that will be constellating in relation to the eclipse cycle between now and June 2020. I have, if you're interested, also done a more in-depth video which looks at the kind of macro cycles relating to the last decade and the energies that relate to these particular eclipses, as well as the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. So if you're interested in that, then you can have a look at my other video, which is called something like the December 26th solar eclipse big picture. So kick-starting eclipse season is the solar eclipse in Capricorn, which happens on the 26th of December 2019. So this begins a brand new 6-month cycle for the collective, which will last until the 21st of June 2020, when we have a new eclipse, a new solar eclipse that will take us into the next eclipse cycle. So this particular eclipse, like most solar eclipses, happens at new moon. So you could say that these type of events are really turbocharged new moons, where you are looking to plant the seeds and set your intentions for the upcoming 6 months. This particular eclipse happens, as I said, in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn on the whole is the archetypal father or authority figure. So Capricorn concerns power, responsibility, it's the inner parent, it's parenting in general, it's taking responsibility for things, owning things. It's also about working towards achieving your ambitions. Capricorn is earth energy, so this is fantastic for manifesting of all kinds. It's really great for career and coin, basically. So whilst the last eclipse cycle concerned the private sphere, this is very much about the public sphere. It's about making your mark, it's about shining in the world, and it's about achieving what it is that you want to achieve when it comes to your New Year's resolutions. So where there is a solar eclipse, there tends to be a follow-up lunar eclipse, and this year things are no different. After the solar eclipse in Capricorn, we're followed with a lunar eclipse in Cancer on the 10th of January, so in the opposite sign. So lunar eclipses happen at full moon, and they are like turbocharged full moons. Full moons on the whole tend to be about culminations or endings, and in this case what we're doing is closing out the last eclipse cycle, which began on the 2nd of July 2019 with the solar eclipse in Cancer. So Cancer is a water sign. It's the archetypal mother. This is about family, it's about the past, it's about the unconscious, it's about habits, also diet to an extent, it's about self-care. And Cancer, being a water sign, tends to be concerned with emotional things. We have to bear in mind that this is also occurring at the full moon, and that the moon is at home in the sign of Cancer. So this could be quite an emotional time, a time of release, a time of letting go, a time of endings. So that's just something to bear in mind during the first half of January, and as we go into the waning moon cycle, there may be things that you need to close out from last year before you can move fully into the solar eclipse energy that will be getting underway on December the 26th. So as if it wasn't enough to have two eclipses beginning a brand new decade, we are also due to have a Saturn-Pluto conjunction in the sign of Capricorn on the 12th of January 2020. So this begins a brand new cycle as far as these two planets are concerned. They tend to come together every 35 or so years. It's a little bit, it varies a little bit because of Pluto's elliptical orbit. Essentially, these two planets have very similar resonances. That's because before Pluto was discovered in the 1930s, many of the attributes that it now carries were assigned to the planet Saturn. Saturn was considered to be the outermost planet in the classical pantheon of planets. So a lot of the symbolism between the two overlap. Saturn is the archetypal Grim Reaper. It's also the archetypal father. So you could say that this is Emperor energy. Then we have Pluto, which is also associated with power, usually hidden power, invisible power. Pluto in many respects is symbolized by the phoenix, so this is death and then rebirth. So we're talking more about cycles here. Together, the two of them coming together in the sign of Capricorn is really quite intense energy. It's quite serious. It's also earth-based, so it's very much to do with what happens on Earth, structures that underpin the fabric of our lives. So we're talking here about power structures, so political structures. We're talking about banking. We're talking about bureaucracy. So those things on a mundane level, we might see some changes happening there. Together, Saturn and Pluto are about cutting back, stripping back. So it's possible that at this time, this energy could coincide with an economic recession. I do talk about the macro trends to do with Saturn and Pluto in my video on the big picture concerning the solar eclipse. So if you're interested in how the Saturn-Pluto conjunction fits into the trends that have been happening over the last decade or so, then have a watch of that video. Needless to say, this energy will, because it's happening in the same sign as the solar eclipse, there will be some sort of continuation when it comes to the December 26th solar eclipse. It's also fair to say that many of us will already have a sense of what this energy is all about, because Saturn and Pluto were going in and out of orb of each other during 2019. They came very close to each other in the first quarter of 2019, and then they went retrograde and parted ways, and then they started to come back together again in November, December of 2019. So you've probably already got a sense that this is quite heavy energy. It's about letting go of things. It's about the truth. It's about revealing what's hidden. It's also to do with rebuilding and restructuring. It's about karmic justice and karmic rebalancing. So essentially about divine timing too, and a sort of, I hate to use the word reckoning, but that's certainly a possibility when it comes to these two planets. There's not really a lot of a sense of mercy when it comes to either Saturn or Pluto. This is the hard taskmaster and the lord of the underworld. So these are not easy energies to have to deal with, but nonetheless, if you're prepared to kind of own your stuff, if you're prepared to do the work that they demand of you, then you can reap some fantastic rewards in the future. It's just worth bearing in mind that because these planets move so slowly, you're not likely to see immediate rewards for your actions. This is more long term. This is kind of building the foundations for the future. So that in a nutshell is a summary of the three main kind of energies that will be at play in the background between now and June of 2020. Just commenting overall, it's worth saying that in many respects this is about a balancing of masculine and feminine energies. So Capricorn in tarot terms, you could associate with not just the world and the devil, but also the emperor. And Cancer, although it is associated with the moon card and with the chariot, you could also associate it to an extent with the Empress energy, because it's the archetypal mother. The sun and moon have similar resonances. These are the cosmic yin and yang energies. So we're talking about the sun is masculine energy and the moon is, generally speaking, feminine energy. So you could say that between now, sort of over the next 6 months, that there's a balancing happening between masculine and feminine energies. Right, so let's get into the individual forecasts. The best way to leverage these is to listen to the forecast for your rising sign, your ascendant. This will ensure that the planets are in the correct position as far as life areas are concerned, so they're more likely to be accurate when it comes to predictions. Although you can also listen for your sun sign and then for your moon sign. If you'd like to order a personal forecast for the upcoming 6 months or 12 months, you can go to my website and order one from astrologysphere.com. So for Virgos, the new 6-month cycle that gets underway from the 26th of December is all about having more fun. Basically, letting down your hair a little bit, finding ways to reintroduce joy and passion back into your life, taking a holiday, perhaps thinking about starting a family. These are all likely to be themes that are going to constellate between now and June of 2020. Jupiter in Capricorn will be making a conjunction to the Sun and Moon at the solar eclipse, and this means that Jupiter energy figures in quite largely into the next 6-month cycle. So Jupiter in Capricorn is encouraging Virgos to really expand their horizons when it comes to matters to do with family and home. So it's possible at this time that you may decide to extend your home, do some renovations. It's possible that you may decide to extend your family, so for example get married and have children. It's possible that you may decide that you need more time for yourself, and that you want to inject more joy into family time. So these are all possible themes that are likely to come up between now and June. There's always a corresponding lunar eclipse when it comes to eclipses happen in pairs. So just as one thing is coming into our lives, another thing is leaving. So on the 10th of January we have the Cancer lunar eclipse, and this is really phasing out a cycle which began on the 2nd of July 2019, and this is asking you to release or rebalance themes or emotional kind of matters that are left over from last year. So this is asking you to maybe reconsider where you need to let go of certain friendships. Perhaps, if you're trying to inject more joy into your life, maybe it's time to let go of friends that are just always on a downer or moaning, or take up a lot of your time, or friends that you never see, people who don't really make time for you. Very often if you want to go on holiday or indulge in a hobby or have a bit more fun, you want a companion, you want somebody who's going to be your wingman. And if somebody's never available, well, maybe it's time to just let them go and realize that maybe you've outgrown each other. It's also possible that you may decide to cancel some group memberships. You may decide to spend less time on social media, and generally perhaps let go of a few expectations that you have around group membership that were perhaps a little bit unrealistic, or that would just constantly lead into disappointment. You'll probably have a fair idea of what I'm talking about, because this would have been highlighted for you at the solar eclipse in July, and would be something that has been constellating, or that you've been working on for the last 6 months. So this is really just the last little residue that you need to kind of work through when it comes to this eclipse on the 10th of January. It's likely to be an emotional time. Cancer is generally, and full moons are. So to have a full moon Cancer eclipse, we're really talking about quite a lot of emotional release going on. So just be gentle with yourself and be aware of the fact that, you know, you might be feeling more emotional than usual. Then on the 12th, we've got the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Now this continues the energy that we saw start on the 26th of December with the solar eclipse. So Saturn and Pluto are really planets of karma, they're planets of divine justice, they are planets of empowerment, authority. So at this time it's possible that you may undergo a kind of death rebirth experience when it comes to matters to do with communication, schooling, your interactions with people in your neighborhood. You may decide that it's time to change your mode of transport, so it's possible that you may get rid of a car or a motorcycle or something that perhaps uses fossil fuels. Perhaps you want to upgrade to something that you feel is more environmentally responsible. It's also possible that you need to change your perceptions and attitudes, and this may play into the themes surrounding friendships, group associations, social media, and of course creativity and fun. It may be that, you know, if you want to get back onto the dating scene, that it's time for you to let go of certain perceptions about you know, dating. Like, is dating really hard? You know, maybe you're a little bit serious and it's time to kind of lighten up a little bit. It's also possible that you may need to take more responsibility when it comes to the way that you conduct short-term love affairs. So here we're talking about promiscuity, sexual inhibition, or indulgence, things that cause scandal, and with Pluto in the mix, that's always a possibility. So it may be that you really need to take responsibility for your behavior when it comes to hooking up. You know, have you been on Tinder too much? Are you not necessarily being honest with yourself or others when it comes to your relationship status, for example? Or is it simply a case of you know, you want to have children, so you really need to take steps in order to find somebody that you feel you can settle down with in order to have children? Or you may decide that you need to find ways to spend more time with children, and that may tie into this whole theme to do with holidays and leisure time. It may be that you perhaps need to consider ways to combine your quality time with children with your leisure time in a way that brings pleasure to both parties. It's also possible that you may feel that you need to put in the work when it comes to new relationships or dating. You know, perhaps you've kind of taken a bit of a sort of a lackadaisical approach to the whole thing, and now it's time to really make a concerted effort to go out and meet people. Saturn is all about doing the work. It's about thinking about the future. So these are themes that are likely to be constellating for you around about mid-January. But I will say that you probably have a fair idea of what these are likely to entail, because Saturn and Pluto were going in and out of orb of this conjunction from as early as the first part of 2019. So these again are not going to be unfamiliar to you in terms of themes. It's just now, as we reach the conjunction, you really have to knuckle down and decide to make the changes necessary in order to get you where you want to go. This is about putting in the work, it's about stepping up, it's about owning stuff. So just bear that in mind as we go into January. So guys, that's really it. I hope you've enjoyed these horoscopes, that they've been helpful to you and given you some pointers on the major trends that are going to be happening for you between now and June of 2020. If you haven't already, you may want to go to my website and find out more about eclipses. I do have a library of eclipses going back about 15 years, so if you're interested in looking at previous eclipses, then please sign up for my membership. It's free. It gives you access to my eclipse library, it gives you my it also means that you get my bi-monthly newsletters, which I send out to everyone on my mailing list, and it also means that you get exclusive and early access to any upcoming forecasts that I do that are not in the public domain. So with that, I wish you all the best for 2020. I hope the eclipses bring you everything that you hope for. Good luck with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and hope to see you again really soon.